Your brain cheats for you. It has to. 11 million bits of information every second, and your conscious mind can only handle about 50. So your brain takes shortcuts. It builds models. It fills in the blanks. It tells you a story about the world that feels complete, solid, true. But the story is missing chapters, and some of those chapters were written by someone else. This is the invisible bias machine, the engine running beneath every thought, every judgment, every certainty you've ever held. And here's the part that should keep you awake. You cannot turn it off. You can only learn to read its output with suspicion. Let me ask you something strange. When was the last time you were absolutely certain about something? A political belief, a judgment about a person, a decision you knew was right. Now, what if I told you that certainty was a feeling, not a fact? A chemical reward your brain gave you for taking a shortcut. A pat on the back for not thinking too hard. There is a mechanism. It's called the focusing illusion. The tendency to weigh whatever is most visible, most recent, most emotionally charged, as if it were the most important. You can test this right now. Think about your overall happiness. Rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. Done? Now, were you thinking about your romantic relationship when you answered? Your job? Your health? Whatever was at the front of your mind colored the entire score. If I had asked you first, how often do you argue with your partner? Your happiness score would drop. If I asked, when was the last time you laughed with a friend? It would rise. The question changes the answer. The frame changes the picture. You are not measuring your life. You are answering whatever question is loudest in the room. This is where persuasion enters. Because if I know what question you're asking yourself, I know what answer you'll find. And I can put that question there. Think about the last time you bought something expensive. A car, maybe. You did your research. You read reviews. You compared prices. You made a rational choice. Or did you? Here's a story. A man walks into a dealership. He's done his homework. He knows the invoice price, the fuel economy, the safety ratings. The salesman greets him, asks a few questions, and then says something strange. You know, the only people who buy this model are engineers and architects. They say it's the one car that actually thinks like they do. The man is not an engineer. He's an accountant, but something shifts in his chest. He looks at the car again. The clean lines, the dashboard. He imagines himself pulling into the office parking lot. He imagines his colleagues noticing. He buys the car. Did he buy it for the engineering? No, he bought it for the identity. The salesman didn't sell a vehicle. He sold a reflection. He activated a bias called social proof, wrapped in a layer of aspiration. The man's research was irrelevant because the decision was never rational. It was tribal. It was about belonging to a category of people who think differently. And here's the dark truth. The man will never know this. He will tell his friends about the safety ratings. He will defend his choice with facts. But the facts are the cover story. The real story happened in a split second, below awareness, when a stranger handed him a mirror and he liked what he saw. This is the machine. It runs on biases, hundreds of them. And they are not bugs in the human operating system. They are features. They kept our ancestors alive on the savannah. When you heard a rustle in the grass, you didn't run a probabilistic analysis on predator versus wind. You ran. The ones who stopped to think didn't pass on their genes, but that ancient software is now running in a world it was never designed for. And it makes you predictable. It makes you readable. Consider the availability heuristic, the tendency to overestimate the importance of information that comes to mind easily. If you see news reports about plane crashes, you become afraid of flying, even though driving is statistically far more dangerous. The image is vivid. It's available. Your brain mistakes ease of recall for frequency of occurrence. Now, who controls what images are available to you? Who decides which stories are repeated until they feel true? This is not a conspiracy question. It's an architecture question. The news cycle, social media algorithms, the conversations at your dinner table. They are all feeding the machine, and the machine is your mind. There was a study, a simple one. Participants were asked to read a story about a woman named Betty. In one version, Betty was described as intelligent, assertive, and competitive. In another, she was described as intelligent, assertive, and jealous. Same story, different adjective. Later, participants were asked if Betty seemed like a nice person. The ones who read jealous rated her lower. They couldn't explain why. They just felt she was unlikable. One word, buried in a paragraph. Changed a moral judgment. Changed a feeling about a human being. Now think about the words used to describe people in your life. In the news. In your own head. Confident versus arrogant. Passionate versus emotional. Frugal versus cheap. The frame is invisible, but it paints the picture, and you are looking at the painting, not the brush. This is the emotional spike. The moment you realize that your likes and dislikes, your alliances and aversions may have been painted for you. That person you can't stand at work. Why? Really why? Did they do something to you, or did someone else's opinion seep into your perception like water into wood? That political stance you hold so firmly. Did you arrive at it through reason, or did it arrive at you through repetition? The scariest part is not that you can be influenced. It's that you want to be. Certainty is comfortable. Doubt is expensive. Your brain would rather be wrong and sure than right and uncertain. Because certainty feels like safety, it feels like control. And when you feel certain, you stop looking. You stop questioning. You become a locked room. And whoever has the key to that room owns it. Let's go deeper into the mechanism. There's a bias called confirmation bias. It's the tendency to search for, interpret, and remember information that confirms what you already believe. It's not just that you ignore opposing views. It's that when you see opposing evidence, your brain processes it as an attack. It activates the same regions as a physical threat. So you fight, you rationalize, you dismiss. This is why arguments rarely change minds. This is why facts don't persuade. Because the machine isn't built for truth. It's built for survival, and being wrong feels like dying. But here's the reframe, the twist, the thing that changes everything. Biases are not just vulnerabilities. They are also levers, and levers can be pulled in any direction. If you understand that people overvalue what is available, you can make your idea more available. You can repeat it. You can make it vivid. You can tell stories instead of listing statistics. If you understand that people seek confirmation, you can meet them where they are. You can frame your message inside their existing beliefs, so it feels like an extension of themselves, not an invasion. This is the ethical line, the tightrope. You can use this knowledge to sell a car, to win an argument, to manipulate. Or you can use it to open doors, to help people see the frame they're trapped in, to give them a chance to step outside. But first, you have to see your own, the open loop, the mystery from the beginning, the question of why you trust your own thinking. The answer is uncomfortable. You trust it because you have to, because the alternative is a kind of vertigo, a free fall into uncertainty. But trust is not the same as accuracy. The final reveal is this: your brain is not a truth-seeking machine. It is a survival machine. It cheats to keep you alive, to keep you comfortable, to keep you part of the tribe. And in a world that has changed faster than your biology can keep up, those cheats are now exploits. They are cracks in the armor. And someone is always looking for cracks. You are not irrational because you are stupid. You are irrational because you are human. And that humanity, that beautiful, flawed, shortcut-taking machinery, is the most predictable thing about you. The question is not whether you have biases. You do. The question is whether you will ever meet them face to face, whether you will sit with the discomfort of knowing that your certainty is often a lie, and your preferences are often borrowed, because once you see the machine, once you feel the gears turning beneath your thoughts, you can never unsee it. You become responsible for your own mind. responsible for the levers you pull in others. And that leads us to the edge, to the question that opens the next room. You've seen the machine now. You know it runs on biases. You know it cheats. But what happens when someone learns to press those buttons intentionally? What happens when they don't just influence your environment, but your identity? In the next episode, we expose why feelings overpower logic every time. There are two kinds of people watching this right now: those who will forget it, and those who will start seeing manipulation everywhere. The difference isn't intelligence, it's awareness. If you want to belong to the second group, subscribe. This series is not for everyone, it's for deep thinkers. Like the video so YouTube knows you want more of this. Comment, "I see it now," and share this with someone who's ready to wake up. See you next.